Commander Rowan stepped down from his starship onto the shining platform of Zandara's imperial capital. The city stretched endlessly, with tall towers that glimmered under the twin suns. Every building radiated power, yet there was elegance in the way the streets curved and the gardens bloomed between spires. Rowan had visited many worlds, but nothing prepared him for the scale and precision of the Emperor's realm. A golden carriage awaited him, drawn by robotic creatures that moved like living horses. He felt a mixture of excitement and unease. This mission was unlike any he had undertaken. The Emperor had personally requested his presence and entrusted him with a task that sounded unusual, even audacious. "Commander Rowan," a voice called, soft but commanding. Turning, he saw a figure step from the palace entrance. The Emperor himself approached, his robes flowing like liquid light. His eyes were sharp, intelligent, and kind, yet there was a weight to them, as if he carried the responsibility of an entire civilization on his shoulders. "Your reputation precedes you," the Emperor said. "I have a delicate mission for you, one that requires skill, patience, and understanding. My daughters, Princesses Erin, Leora, and Sela, must learn from you. They must experience life outside the palace, see the strength of other people, and develop skills they cannot gain here. I call it re-education," Rowan blinked. He had expected diplomacy, perhaps military guidance, but this was different. "Your Majesty, I will do my best," he said carefully. "But what exactly do you want them to learn?" The Emperor smiled faintly. "Strength, resilience, independence, and the wisdom to lead with both mind and heart. Your world, Commander, is different from mine. Humans survive through cooperation, courage, and innovation. These qualities will serve my daughters well if they are to lead someday. You will guide them, teach them, but also let them discover their own paths." Rowan nodded, understanding the enormity of the task. He had dealt with dangerous missions, trained soldiers, and led explorers through hostile terrain. But educating royal children, three clever, intelligent young women, was a challenge of a different kind. The princesses arrived shortly after, escorted by palace guards. Erin, the eldest, carried herself with quiet confidence, her sharp eyes studying every detail. Leora, the middle sister, radiated energy and impatience, constantly moving and fidgeting with her garments. Sela, the youngest, seemed cautious and observant, as if measuring the world before stepping into it. Rowan greeted them respectfully. "Princesses, I am Commander Rowan. Your father believes you can learn much from my world. I hope you will join me willingly on this journey." Erin raised an eyebrow, a small smirk forming. "We will see, Commander. I'm curious if your humans are truly as capable as you say." Leora leaned forward, almost bouncing on her heels. "I want excitement. Can we see the stars, meet new people, do things no one has tried before?" Sela, quiet but firm, asked. "And if we do not agree with what we are taught?" Rowan smiled gently. "Then we discuss it. Learning does not mean losing yourself. You will gain knowledge and strength, but you will remain who you are. That is the most important lesson." The journey began as they boarded Rowan's ship. As the city of Zandara shrank beneath them, the princesses looked out at the endless horizon, a mixture of awe and nervous anticipation in their eyes. The ship hummed as it left the planet's atmosphere, gliding toward the distant human colony where their new lessons would begin. During the long flight, Rowan spoke of human life, the colonies that thrived on harsh planets, the communities that survived by working together, the innovations that allowed ordinary people to achieve extraordinary feats. The princesses listened, asking questions, testing Rowan's knowledge and offering their own ideas. Erin's questions were precise, seeking depth. Leora's were bold and imaginative, always challenging the limits. Sela's were thoughtful, often reflecting on the moral and ethical sides of each story. By the time the ship approached the human colony, the princesses had already begun to change. Curiosity sparked in their eyes, and the initial reserve that marked them had softened into cautious anticipation. They were ready, or at least as ready as they could be, to step into a world that would test everything they knew and shape them in ways they could not yet imagine. Rowan glanced at the three young women, a sense of hope welling in him. This journey would not be easy. They would stumble, question, and struggle, but he knew deep inside that these princesses could rise to the challenge and that one day they might teach the galaxy a lesson in courage and humanity that even the Emperor had not foreseen. The human colony's lights glimmered below, and the adventure began. The human colony stretched across a rocky valley, with domed habitats and green fields carefully arranged between metal structures. Rivers had been redirected to irrigate the land, and wind turbines turned gracefully, powering the colony with silent efficiency. Rowan guided the princesses through the settlement, explaining how humans survived on this planet. Where storms were frequent and the ground was unforgiving, Erin, the eldest princess, walked with her head high, her eyes scanning every detail. "So humans build everything themselves?" she asked. "No magical tools, no royal command to make things happen?" Rowan shook his head. "No magic. Humans rely on creativity, teamwork, and effort. Everyone contributes and everyone shares the rewards. If one person fails, the community suffers. That is why cooperation is vital." Leora bounced on the balls of her feet. "It sounds exciting. Can we try building something? Or exploring?" Sela, walking slightly behind, touched a field of soft green plants. "And what about danger? Are there creatures here that could harm us?" Rowan smiled. "Yes, the planet is not easy. There are storms, wild animals, and uneven terrain. But humans have learned to adapt. That is what makes them strong." They arrived at the first training area, an open field where humans practiced survival skills, teamwork exercises, and strategy games. Children ran, building shelters and carrying water. Adults taught lessons in harvesting, repairing machinery, and emergency response. "Today," Rowan said, "you will try your first human challenge. It is simple but important. You must work together to build a small shelter. You cannot command others, you must cooperate." The princesses exchanged glances. Erin took the lead. "We will divide the tasks. I will handle the structure. Leora gathered the materials. Sela planned the layout," they began. Leora ran to collect wood-like materials, her energy uncontainable. Erin measured and guided beams into place, precise and careful. Sela observed, correcting angles and making sure the design was practical. At first, the humans nearby watched silently, then joined in when they saw the princess's effort. Hours passed, and the shelter began to take shape. The princesses argued briefly over methods, but Rowan allowed them to work through disagreements. By sunset, they had built a sturdy shelter, simple but effective. The humans applauded, and even the princesses could not hide their pride. "You see," Rowan said, "it is not about doing everything yourself. It is about using the strengths of everyone around you. That is how humans survive and thrive." Erin nodded, a new respect forming. "I understand. Strength is important, but only when combined with cooperation." Leora grinned, leaning against the shelter. "And courage. You have to be brave to try new things, even if you fail." Sela smiled quietly. "And wisdom, knowing how to listen, watch, and help when needed." As night fell, the princesses returned to the colony's communal living area. Humans welcomed them warmly, sharing meals and stories. Around a fire, the colony elders told tales of past hardships, how they survived storms, disease, and attacks from dangerous creatures. The princesses listened intently, fascinated by the resilience of ordinary people. "Do humans ever give up?" Erin asked, her voice soft. "Rarely," an elder said. "We make mistakes, but we learn, we adapt. That is what separates humans from failure. We see hope even when the odds are against us." Leora's eyes sparkled. "I want to see more. I want to help with the next challenge." Sela, still thoughtful, asked, "And what if we are not ready for the danger?" Rowan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Being ready is not about knowing everything. It is about courage, observation, and willingness to act. You are learning these skills now. Soon, you will face challenges that will show you just how much you have grown." That night, as the three princesses slept in the colony's simple quarters, each reflected on what they had learned. Erin considered the importance of leadership and collaboration. Leora dreamed of adventure and testing her limits. Sela thought about patience, planning, and empathy. None of them realized how deeply their time here was beginning to change them. Outside, the twin suns of this distant world dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the settlement. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of fields and machinery, and the quiet hum of human life carried a strange comfort. For the first time, the princesses felt the pull of something greater than the palace walls, a world full of challenges, friendship, and lessons that could shape their future in ways they had never imagined. Rowan stood at the edge of the colony, watching the young women as they explored, laughed, and learned. He felt a sense of pride and hope. The journey had just begun, but already, seeds of transformation were taking root. The princesses would not be the same when this adventure ended. They would carry human strength, courage, and wisdom back to the Empire, and the galaxy might never look the same again. The morning sun rose over the human colony, casting warm light over the fields and training grounds. Commander Rowan gathered the princesses for their next challenge, a mission designed to test their leadership, teamwork, and decision-making under pressure. Today they would help rescue a group of miners trapped in a rocky canyon by a sudden landslide. This mission will require you to work together, Rowan explained. It is not just about strength or courage. You must think carefully, plan quickly, and help each other. Humans survive by acting as one. You must do the same. Erin straightened, her eyes determined. We are ready, Commander. Tell us what to do, Rowan shook his head. No, you will lead. I will guide, but this is your responsibility. Each of you has different strengths. Use them. The princesses exchanged glances. Erin was the natural leader, precise and thoughtful. Leora was energetic, brave, and quick to act. Sela was careful, observant, and considerate of others' needs. Each would need to learn to rely on the others. The journey to the canyon was difficult. The path was steep, rocky, and scattered with loose stones. The winds whipped sharply, carrying dust that stung the eyes. The princesses stumbled, struggled, and argued briefly about the best route. Rowan allowed them to find their own solutions, only stepping in when safety was at risk. Finally, they reached the site. A group of miners huddled near the edge of a cliff, scared but alive. Rocks blocked the path, and the canyon below was dangerous. Erin took a deep breath. We need a plan. Leora, gather tools and ropes. Sela, check the stability of the rocks. I will coordinate our actions. Leora ran to collect ropes, picks, and safety harnesses, her energy contagious. Sela carefully examined the canyon walls, noting where rocks might fall and identifying safe footholds. Erin studied the layout, directing each human rescuer and princess with clarity and calm authority. Hours passed as they worked tirelessly. The princesses had to adjust their strategies constantly. A rock shifted unexpectedly, forcing them to change their approach. Ropes tangled, tools slipped, and the miners grew anxious. Yet the princesses remained focused, communicating clearly and supporting one another. At one point, Erin saw a large boulder threatening to fall near the trapped miners. Without hesitation, she shouted instructions. Leora and Sela acted immediately, securing ropes and creating a barrier. The boulder tumbled harmlessly past them. The miners cheered, and the princesses exchanged a proud, relieved glance. Finally, one by one, the miners were guided safely to solid ground. The sun had dipped low, painting the canyon in orange and red hues. The princesses were exhausted but exhilarated. They had faced danger, relied on each other, and succeeded through teamwork and courage. Rowan clapped gently. You did well. You learned quickly. But more importantly, you learned the value of trusting each other. Leadership is not about giving orders. It is about seeing strengths, encouraging people, and making decisions with care and confidence. Erin wiped sweat from her brow. I understand now. A leader must guide but also listen and adapt. Strength alone is not enough. Leora smiled, excitement still in her eyes. And courage matters too. You can't be afraid to take action when it is needed. Sela nodded quietly. And wisdom. Knowing when to move carefully and when to act quickly. Everyone's life depends on it. The journey back to the colony was filled with stories, laughter, and reflection. The miners thanked the princesses for their bravery and teamwork, praising their calm and quick thinking. Erin, Leora, and Sela realized that their actions had made a real difference, not just in theory but in the lives of others. That night, around the communal fire, the princesses shared what they had learned with the other humans. Erin spoke about leadership and responsibility. Leora told tales of courage and daring action. Sela emphasized planning, care, and empathy. The humans listened with interest, appreciating the blend of human and royal wisdom. Rohan watched silently, a proud smile on his face. The princesses were changing. They were learning not just human skills but human values, resilience, courage, cooperation, and compassion. They were beginning to understand that true strength was measured not only in power or speed, but in the ability to lead, support, and inspire others. As the twin suns set behind the mountains, the princesses sat together, their faces glowing in the firelight. For the first time, they felt the depth of their transformation. They were no longer only daughters of an emperor. They were capable leaders, ready to face challenges and protect those in need. Rohan knew that many more lessons awaited them, more trials that would test their courage and wisdom. But for now, the first mission was complete, and the princesses had proven themselves, not just to him but to themselves. They had discovered that the human way, cooperation, courage, and careful thinking was a path worth following, and a power they could carry with them anywhere in the galaxy. The human colony buzzed with excitement. Today was the Festival of Stars, a celebration of courage, teamwork, and discovery. Banners fluttered in the warm wind, and lights shone along the streets, reflecting in the metal and glass of the buildings. Music and laughter filled the air, creating a sense of joy that the princesses had never experienced before. Commander Rowan led the princesses through the crowded streets. Arin, Leora, and Sela moved carefully, observing the sights, sounds, and people. The festival was full of activities designed to test skills, honor bravery, and celebrate human achievement. There were obstacle courses, storytelling contests, art displays, and demonstrations of science and invention. Arin's eyes were drawn to a group leading a navigation challenge. "We should try that," she said, her tone serious but eager. "It will test our ability to plan and lead, just like the mission yesterday." Leora's gaze went to the climbing towers, ropes, and daring games of skill. "I want the adventure. Let's do the climbing contest first." "It looks amazing." Sela, always cautious, observed the crowd and the events. "We should choose wisely. Some challenges might be risky. We can learn more if we balance excitement with thought." Rowan smiled. "You can each try what appeals to you most. The festival is not just for fun. It is a place to learn, to understand, and to connect with others. Observe, participate, and reflect." The princesses split up, exploring different activities. Arin joined the navigation challenge, working with humans to solve complex puzzles and map a course across the uneven terrain. She quickly realized that leadership required listening as much as directing. She encouraged suggestions from others, adapted her plans when obstacles arose, and completed the course successfully. Leora raced to the climbing towers, her energy unstoppable. She scaled the ropes, leaped across platforms, and cheered on those around her. Her courage and determination inspired humans and princesses alike, and she learned that daring action, when combined with care and skill, could lead to success. Sela moved slowly through the art and strategy games, watching others carefully and learning patterns of thinking. She helped a group solve a puzzle that required empathy, observation, and teamwork. Her quiet guidance proved invaluable, showing that strength could come from thoughtfulness and patience as much as from action. By midday, the princesses reunited, sharing stories of their experiences. Arin spoke about the importance of teamwork and listening. Leora described her daring feats and how courage could inspire others. Sela reflected on strategy and understanding, showing that wisdom was just as important as bravery. Rohan nodded. "You are learning quickly. Courage, wisdom, and leadership are not separate traits, they work together. Humans value all of them. You see how your skills complement each other, and how cooperation makes even the most difficult tasks possible." The festival reached its climax with the Story of Stars, an ancient tradition where humans and visitors shared tales of courage, discovery, and resilience. People gathered around large fires, their faces glowing in the flickering light. The princesses were invited to share their experiences, and they spoke openly of their journey so far. Arin described their lessons in leadership and teamwork. Leora told of the courage she discovered within herself. Sela shared insights about patience, planning, and understanding. The humans listened with admiration, inspired by how much the princesses had already learned. Then, to everyone's delight, the princesses joined in a dance of light and motion, blending their own Xandaran customs with human traditions. The crowd cheered, and the bond between humans and visitors grew stronger. The festival was no longer just an event. It had become a bridge between two worlds. As night fell, the colony glimmered under countless stars. The princesses stood together, looking up at the sky, reflecting on the day. For the first time, they truly felt the depth of human culture, not just in skills or courage, but in celebration, creativity, and unity. They understood that learning was not only about surviving or fighting, it was also about connecting, sharing, and growing together. Rohan watched them silently, feeling pride and hope. The princesses were changing, their minds opening to new possibilities. They were no longer only students. They were becoming leaders in their own right, ready to inspire others and to carry lessons back to the Empire. The Festival of Stars ended, but its lessons remained. Aaron, Leora, and Sela had discovered the power of courage, teamwork, and cultural exchange. They had begun to see the galaxy not as separate civilizations, but as a place where different peoples could learn from one another, grow together, and face the future united. As the festival lights dimmed and the fires burned low, the princesses returned to their quarters, tired but exhilarated. Their journey had only begun, yet each step brought them closer to understanding not only human strength, but human heart and the incredible potential that lay in blending knowledge, courage, and compassion across worlds. The colony was quiet at first light, the twin suns rising over the rocky terrain and casting long shadows across the settlement. Humans were already busy preparing for the day, tending fields, repairing equipment, and checking defenses. Rowan gathered the princesses, his expression serious. "Today will not be like yesterday," he said. "There is a threat approaching the colony. A neighboring alien race has sent raiding ships. You will see firsthand how humans protect themselves and how your training can be applied." Aaron's eyes sharpened. "We are ready." "We must help." Leora's fingers clenched. "Finally some real action. I want to do my part." Sela, calm as ever, asked, "And if the threat is too great?" Rowan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we act together. Courage, strategy, and teamwork will guide us. Do not underestimate yourselves or your new skills." The alarm sounded, a low hum that rose into a warning siren. The sky darkened with alien ships, sleek and black, moving quickly across the horizon. The colony's defenses activated automatically. Shields shimmered, weapons rotated, and human defenders moved into position. Rohan led the princesses to the command center. "Observe, learn, and participate when it is necessary," he instructed. "Your roles will be vital." Aaron immediately stepped forward, directing groups of human defenders to weak points in the shields. She organized the volunteers, giving precise instructions and adapting quickly as new threats appeared. Her leadership was calm, clear, and efficient. Leora rushed to the supply depot, organizing weapons, ammunition, and equipment for the defenders. She inspired the humans around her with her energy, urging them to act bravely and swiftly. She climbed to higher ground to relay information about incoming ships, her courage driving others to follow her example. Sela moved among the injured and worried civilians, calming fears and providing guidance. She helped families find safe shelters, coordinated with medical teams, and ensured that even the smallest details were attended to. Her empathy and careful planning kept the colony functioning smoothly, despite the chaos. The battle began in earnest. Alien ships swooped low, attempting to break through the shields. Humans fired defensive weapons, and automated drones intercepted attackers. Aaron coordinated the defenders, anticipating alien movements and adjusting their strategies. Leora led small teams to reinforce weak spots, her bravery infectious. Sela kept everyone organized and safe, preventing panic from spreading. Hours passed in tense focus. The princesses faced challenges they had never encountered: unexpected ship maneuvers, damaged shields, and civilians needing urgent help. Each obstacle tested their courage, intelligence, and teamwork. Yet together they adapted. Aaron's leadership guided, Leora's courage inspired, and Sela's wisdom ensured order. At one critical moment, a massive alien ship aimed directly at the colony's power core. Aaron quickly devised a plan, directing Leora and a team of humans to intercept it. Sela helped evacuate workers from nearby structures, ensuring no one was in danger. With precision and bravery, the team managed to disable the ship before it could reach the core. The alien ships, seeing their attack thwarted, retreated into space. The colony cheered, humans and princesses alike sharing a moment of triumph. The princesses, exhausted but exhilarated, realized that they had faced real danger and succeeded through courage, intelligence, and teamwork. Rohan approached, pride evident on his face. "You have done exceptionally well. This was not a simple exercise. It was real danger, and you applied everything you have learned. Leadership, courage, and wisdom are not just ideas. They are actions that save lives." Aaron nodded, her eyes thoughtful. "I see now that strength alone is not enough. A leader must guide, inspire, and adapt. Every choice matters, Leora smiled, her adrenaline fading. And courage can be shared. When you inspire others, they find bravery too. Sela, quietly observing the aftermath, added, and planning and care are just as important. Protecting others requires understanding, foresight, and patience. That night, the colony celebrated their victory. Humans and princesses shared stories, laughter, and gratitude. The princesses felt a deep connection to this world, not just as visitors but as part of its survival and success. They had learned lessons that no classroom could teach: the value of courage, leadership, and working together when the stakes were highest. As the twin suns set, casting long shadows over the repaired walls and repaired equipment, the princesses reflected on the day. They had grown not just in skill but in understanding. They were no longer only students. They were defenders, leaders, and examples of what courage and wisdom could achieve together. Rowan watched silently, proud and hopeful. The training, the missions, and the festivals had shaped the princesses into capable, strong, and compassionate leaders. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but he knew they were ready for the future. Together, humans and the princesses had proven that cooperation, courage, and careful thinking could overcome any threat. Months passed, and the princesses had become an integral part of the human colony. Aaron, Leora, and Sela had grown stronger, wiser, and more confident. Their daily routines now blended lessons from the humans with the knowledge they had always carried from the palace. Rowan watched with quiet pride as each princess discovered her unique strengths and talents. Aaron had become a natural leader. She could coordinate groups, solve problems quickly, and inspire those around her. People turned to her for guidance, and she learned how to balance authority with respect. She no longer relied solely on her title or position. She relied on her decisions, insight, and understanding of others. Leora's courage had only grown. She was always among the first to face new challenges, whether climbing rocky cliffs to repair energy turbines or exploring uncharted areas of the planet for resources. Her bravery encouraged others to act without fear, and her optimism lifted the spirits of everyone she met. Leora's energy was infectious, and even the humans marveled at her daring spirit. Sela, quiet and observant, had become the heart of the colony. She organized care for the sick and injured, guided new arrivals, and taught others how to plan effectively. Her thoughtfulness ensured that no one was left behind, and her careful approach often prevented accidents before they could happen. She had learned that strength could be gentle and wisdom could guide courage. One day, Rowan called the princesses together. "Your training is complete," he said, "but there is another part of learning that you must experience: life itself. Humans understand that growth comes not only from skill, but from caring for others, nurturing new life, and building a future. You will see what that means." The princesses were curious. They had learned leadership, courage, and wisdom. But now Rowan spoke of something deeper. Over the following weeks, the colony's families welcomed the princesses into their homes. They shared stories, meals, and lessons about raising children, teaching skills, and building bonds that would last generations. The princesses observed carefully, asking questions and offering help wherever needed. Aaron watched as families worked together to build shelters, care for children, and manage daily life. She learned patience, empathy, and the delicate balance of authority and guidance. Leora joined in games and explorations with the colony's youth, learning how courage and energy could shape young minds. Sela assisted in organizing schools and training centers, seeing firsthand how planning and care influenced growth and development. In time, the princesses began families of their own. They raised children with the same values they had learned: courage, wisdom, teamwork, and compassion. The children were a mix of human and Xandaran traits, strong, curious, and quick to learn. They explored the colony with fearless wonder, encouraged by their mother's example. The colony thrived with the addition of these new families. Humans and Xandaran children played together, learned from one another, and shared traditions. Gardens flourished, inventions were perfected, and the community spirit was stronger than ever. The princesses saw how life could grow in harmony, blending cultures, skills, and values. One evening, Rowan walked with the princesses along a quiet hill overlooking the colony. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky with colors of orange, purple, and gold. The laughter of children echoed from below, a melody of life and hope. "You have changed," Rowan said softly, "not just in skill but in character. You understand leadership, courage, and wisdom, but also care, empathy, and the value of life itself. You have become true examples of what humans call strength of heart. Erin smiled, watching her children play. I see now that strength is more than power or authority. It is guidance, patience, and knowing when to act. The humans have taught us lessons we could never learn in the palace alone. Leora laughed as a child climbed onto her shoulders. And courage isn't just about facing danger, it is about inspiring others to face life with hope, even when the path is... And wisdom back to the Empire, and the galaxy might never look the same again. The morning sun rose over the human colony, casting warm light over the fields and training grounds. Commander Rowan gathered the princesses for their next challenge, a mission designed to test their leadership, teamwork, and decision-making under pressure. Today, they would help rescue a group of miners trapped in a rocky canyon by a sudden landslide. This mission will require you to work together, Rowan explained. It is not just about strength or courage. You must think carefully, plan quickly, and help each other. Humans survive by acting as one. You must do the same. Erin straightened, her eyes determined. We are ready, Commander. Tell us what to do. Rowan shook his head. No, you will lead. I will guide, but this is your responsibility. Each of you has different strengths. Use them. The princesses exchanged glances. Erin was the natural leader, precise and thoughtful. Leora was energetic, brave, and quick to act. Sela was careful, observant, and considerate of others' needs. Each would need to learn to rely on the others. The journey to the canyon was difficult. The path was steep, rocky, and scattered with loose stones. The winds whipped sharply, carrying dust that stung the eyes. The princesses stumbled, struggled, and argued briefly about the best route. Rowan allowed them to find their own solutions, only stepping in when safety was at risk. Finally, they reached the site. A group of miners huddled near the edge of a cliff, scared but alive. Rocks blocked the path, and the canyon below was dangerous. Erin took a deep breath. We need a plan. Leora, gather tools and ropes. Sela, check the stability of the rocks. I will coordinate our actions. Leora ran to collect ropes, picks, and safety harnesses, her energy contagious. Sela carefully examined the canyon walls, noting where rocks might fall and identifying safe footholds. Erin studied the layout, directing each human rescuer and princess with clarity and calm authority. Hours passed as they worked tirelessly. The princesses had to adjust their strategies constantly. A rock shifted unexpectedly, forcing them to change their approach. Ropes tangled, tools slipped, and the miners grew anxious. Yet the princesses remained focused, communicating clearly and supporting one another. At one point, Erin saw a large boulder threatening to fall near the trapped miners. Without hesitation, she shouted instructions. Leora and Sela acted immediately, securing ropes and creating a barrier. The boulder tumbled harmlessly past them. The miners cheered, and the princesses exchanged a proud, relieved glance. Finally, one by one, the miners were guided safely to solid ground. The sun had dipped low, painting the canyon in orange and red hues. The princesses were exhausted but exhilarated. They had faced danger, relied on each other, and succeeded through teamwork and courage. Rowan clapped gently. You did well. You learned quickly, but more importantly, you learned the value of trusting each other. Leadership is not about giving orders. It is about seeing strengths, encouraging people, and making decisions with care and confidence. Erin wiped sweat from her brow. I understand now. A leader must guide, but also listen and adapt. Strength alone is not enough. Leora smiled, excitement still in her eyes. And courage matters too. You can't be afraid to take action when it is needed. Sela nodded quietly. And wisdom, knowing when to move carefully and when to act quickly. Everyone's life depends on it. The journey back to the colony was filled with stories, laughter, and reflection. The miners thanked the princesses for their bravery and teamwork, praising their calm and quick thinking. Erin, Leora, and Sela realized that their actions had made a real difference, not just in theory but in the lives of others. That night, around the communal fire, the princesses shared what they had learned with the other humans. Erin spoke about leadership and responsibility. Leora told tales of courage and daring action. Sela emphasized planning, care, and empathy. The humans listened with interest, appreciating the blend of human and royal wisdom. Rowan watched silently, a proud smile on his face. The princesses were changing. They were learning not just human skills, but human values, resilience, courage, cooperation, and compassion. They were beginning to understand that true strength was measured not only in power or speed, but in the ability to lead, support, and inspire others. As the twin suns set behind the mountains, the princesses sat together, their faces glowing in the firelight. For the first time, they felt the depth of their transformation. They were no longer only daughters of an emperor, they were capable leaders, ready to face challenges and protect those in need. Rowan knew that many more lessons awaited them, more trials that would test their courage and wisdom. But for now, the first mission was complete, and the princesses had proven themselves. Not just to him, but to themselves. They had discovered that the human way, cooperation, courage, and careful thinking was a path worth following, and a power they could carry with them anywhere in the galaxy. Opal, and for these children. Leora smiled. Yes, courage, wisdom, and care are now part of who we are. We can help the Empire grow stronger, better, and kinder. Sela nodded. And we can teach others, inspire others, and ensure that our children inherit a world where strength is measured by heart, as well as power. The Emperor watched them from a distance, a quiet pride in his eyes. For the first time, he realized that giving his daughters the chance to learn beyond the palace walls had created leaders capable of shaping a future filled with courage, wisdom, and hope. Outside the palace, the city lights glimmered under the twin suns' fading glow. Within, a new era had begun, one where the lessons of humans and Xandarans blended to guide the next generation. And at the heart of it were three princesses, forever changed, carrying courage, wisdom, and care into the galaxy. The palace of Xandara glowed in the light of the twin suns, a symbol of the Empire's strength and elegance. Yet inside, the real power lay not in gold or towering walls, but in the lessons learned and the changes that had come over the Emperor's daughters. Irene, Leora, and Sela stood together, their children at their sides, as the Emperor looked upon them with admiration. "This is a new beginning," the Emperor said, his voice steady and warm. "Your journey has taught you what I could not alone. Strength, courage, and wisdom are valuable, but the heart, care, empathy, and cooperation cannot be ignored. You have shown me that humans understand these truths in ways we can learn from." Erin stepped forward, her eldest child holding her hand. "Father, the galaxy is full of challenges, but it is also full of possibilities. We have seen that courage, planning, and care can overcome great danger. We have learned that collaboration makes us stronger than any weapon or title." Leora nodded enthusiastically, and hope matters too. Even in the hardest moments, people can inspire one another. That is what we experienced on the human colony. That is what we want to bring back to the Empire. Sela, gentle but firm, added, "And wisdom guides courage. We must protect, guide, and nurture, not just command. That is how we can ensure a future that is strong, just, and full of life." The Emperor smiled, clearly moved. "You have returned not only as princesses, but as teachers, leaders, and mothers. The children you bring carry the potential of a new era, one where humans and Xandarans can learn from one another and grow together." The city below the palace had gathered to witness this new chapter. Citizens and visitors alike had heard of the princesses' journey, their challenges, and the lessons they had learned. Humans from the colony had been invited as honored guests, showing the bonds that had formed across worlds. Together, humans and Xandarans celebrated this unity of courage, wisdom, and care. Rohan, standing quietly behind the princesses, reflected on how far they had come. What had begun as a mission of education had become a story of transformation. The princesses were no longer just students. They were leaders whose example could shape the Empire's future. And the children, innocent, curious, and strong, were living proof that the blending of cultures could create something greater than either world alone. The Emperor turned to Rohan. "Your guidance has been invaluable, but it was their courage and determination that made the difference. You have taught us that even the smallest acts of leadership and care can change the course of many lives." Rohan bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, the princesses have embraced every challenge. Humans helped them, and they learned by observing, acting, and reflecting. This is the beginning of something bigger than any one person. The future is in the choices we make together." Outside, the twin suns set, casting long golden rays across the palace and city. The streets were alive with celebration, humans and Xandarans mingling, sharing stories, and learning from one another. Crafts, music, and games filled the squares, blending traditions from both worlds. The princesses watched their children play alongside the human youth, their laughter echoing through the city, a melody of hope and promise. Arin knelt to speak to her child. "You are the future," she said softly. "The world we leave behind will be shaped by courage, wisdom, and care. Remember what you have learned and always help others when you can." Leora cheered as her child raced ahead, climbing a small hill fearlessly. "And never be afraid to try. Courage will guide you when you feel unsure." Sela, helping a group of children build a small bridge over a stream, smiled quietly. "And think carefully, plan wisely, and always be kind. Strength without care is incomplete." The Emperor watched, realizing that his daughters had not only returned stronger, they had become the heart of a new vision for the Empire. Humans and Xandarans could work together, learn from one another, and face the challenges of the galaxy as allies rather than separate civilizations. Rohan, standing to the side, whispered quietly, "This is what HFY truly means. The strength of humanity, the courage, wisdom, and compassion can inspire an entire galaxy." The princesses looked at one another, proud and humbled. They had faced danger, learned new ways of thinking, and nurtured new life. They had seen firsthand the power of cooperation, courage, and care. And now, as the suns dipped below the horizon and the city shimmered with light, they understood that this was only the beginning. The Empire would change, the children would grow, and the galaxy would never be the same. From that day forward, the lessons of humans and the wisdom of Xandara would guide leaders, inspire courage, and ensure that hope, care, and strength traveled across the stars. Forever.